Welcome to Fantasy Films, and Rob Zombie's The Munsters movie is set to come out next week, September the 27th, but I got to see it a couple days early. This is one I've been following ever since he announced that he was going to make this movie, and I've been getting a ton of mixed comments of both love and hate for this movie, and after seeing it for myself, I have to say this movie was an absolute train wreck. This movie tried so hard to capture the essence of the original Munsters, and because Rob Zombie is a huge Munsters fan, I could see where he tried, but unfortunately it fell flat on its face. It just absolutely bombed for me. I'm sorry. It's one of those where it starts with the casting, dribbles down to the script writing, and then down to the execution. There are some essences of this movie that I liked, like we'll take the lighting for instance. Now this movie was shot in color, although, I'm more fond of the black and white, and I think it probably would have done better in black and white, but he did it in color, and I do like the colors that he used, the reds and the purples and the greens, and it just gave it that nice monster gothic kind of vibe. So I applaud him for that. So there was a lot of cinematics that I thought were very well done. There was also this tone that you could see he was going for, the kind of the same tone that the original movie, or should I say original series, had. And it was like that campy, comedy, quirky, corny kind of vibe. And there were a lot of scenes where he captured that very well, but he overused it. And he overused it so much that it got annoying. There were no serious points to the movie or no serious scenes to help break up that corny comedy and that tone. So you had that same tone the whole way through. So if you didn't know, this is an origin story. So this is about how Herman and Lily met in Transylvania, got hooked up, married, and moved off to America. Now, the casting here was one of the biggest things I've got comments on in my update videos on this. And Sherrie Moon Zombie was one of the #1 topics. Rob Zombie always has to put her in his films. And now that she's playing Lily, she immediately got hate for it. But oddly enough, her role was not the one I hated the most. Ironically, she didn't do horrible as Lily, but that's not to say she did good as Lily, because she didn't. It just, in comparison to her other roles in other films, I feel like this fits her better, but she still sucks as Lily. The one I expected more from actually was Herman, and he's the one I really didn't like at all. He's the one I dislike probably the most. I'm sorry, Jeff Daniel Phillips, he had the look, but he tried way too hard. He just constantly putting out these facial expressions and these weird looks, and parts he really got on point. Some looks and some dialogue and the tone of his voice he got really well, but I'm going to say 90% of the time he totally botched this character up. And of course, the one I expected the most out of, that I thought just even from that little bit of trailer that we originally saw, Grandpa was going to be my favorite, and he absolutely was. Grandpa killed it. Thank you, Daniel Roebuck, for playing a really good Grandpa. But the two I think did better than all three of the Munsters was Richard Brake's character and Jorge Garcia's character. Jorge played Floop, and Richard Drake played Dr. Augustus, and these two guys meshed so well. These guys, they were basically the mad scientist and his assistant who created Herman, and they are hilarious. They are so great in their role. Their acting was on point. I love the comical banter between them, and these two characters, along with Grandpa, were the best part about this movie. And that's saying a lot, because I'm going to tell you something. This movie was an hour and 45 minutes long, way longer than it needed to be. And I got halfway through this movie and I forced myself to watch the second half. That's how bad this movie was. Now, again, there were good aspects of it, and the characters that I just mentioned were probably the only thing that kept me watching it. But as far as Herman, Lily, and the rest of the movie was just, it was bad. It looked like a film that a bunch of film students had to put together for a project and get graded on. Which is really sad because I had high hopes for this movie. Because of Rob Zombie, again, being a Munsters fan, I'm like, he might be the only person to be able to bring the Munsters back to the screen and be able to do it right, give us a few laughs, and not totally botch it up. Boy, was I wrong. And there are scenes in this movie that looked like there was effort put in, and the lighting was crisp, and the setting was good, and everything just seemed to work. And then we had sets that would be really, really cheesy. Like, I'm talking that you knew they were on a set stage and it just looked bad. Like, the quality was horrible. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it made the movie seem worse than maybe it was supposed to. But there was no smooth transition to this movie. It was very inconsistent. It was very jumbled. It was just a mess. There was no consistent, even flow to the movie. But the train wreck doesn't stop there. It also flows into the dialogue and the screenwriting, because listening to some of the conversation amongst themselves just was embarrassing to watch. Like, I felt embarrassed watching it, and I'm kind of glad I watched it on my own, because I don't think I would have wanted someone openly seeing me sit through what I had to sit through. But now I fully understand why Peacock didn't put it on their app, and it was bouncing from, server to server, and they weren't sure where it was going to land, and it landed on Netflix, and I'm surprised Netflix took it, because they have better taste than this. But you know what the best part about this movie is that I don't have to watch it again. And I won't, because this movie sucked. I gave it a chance. I did. I always said I wasn't going to make a judgment until I saw the movie. I saw the movie. I regret seeing the movie. I will never watch that movie again. But if you're lucky enough like me to be able to watch it early, let me know what your thoughts are down below. If you're going to watch it when it comes out next week, make sure you come back and let me know what you thought of the movie. This is going to be a very interesting conversation to hold down in the comments, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Do me a favor, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button on your way out. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you at the concession stands.